Cheers, folks. Welcome to the brewery, and it's tasting day on what is Little John's Red IPA that was brewed out at Bulla Creek, the local brewery, back on 2nd of August, 2nd of July, the second day of dry July. So this finished brewing out of the brewery obviously well before dry July was finished. It went on tap on the God, I don't know the actual date, second last weekend of July. It was 22nd of July. It went on tap. I was concerned that it wasn't going to be really ready on the 22nd. I thought it was a little bit too quick. But Mike out there wanted it on tap. He wanted to fill all the taps. He's got 12 taps out there. He likes to have them all full. And this sort of made up that last tap that was sitting there. So she went on. So I didn't get to taste it until the 5th, the third week it was on, which was more the time I would have been looking to put it on myself. But anyway, again, that was dry July, and I had a week. I could have tried it here. Mike dropped me a 9-litre keg from kegging day, which I had here for a couple of, well, yeah, best part of 2 weeks, and I could have got into it in those first couple of days of August, but I was running my normal drinking. I was trying to stick with my normal routine of not drinking on a Monday to Wednesday, and so by the time I got to the Thursday, I was like, well, I might as well just wait till I get out of the brewery. And I wanted to try. I went at the first tasting actually at the brewery, off tap at the brewery, in the whole vibe, the whole thing. But anyway, we went out, we've done the tasting. A couple of the local brew monsters and friends and whatnot have been out and they've tried the beer. It's getting really good feedback at the brewery. Mike the brewer was very happy with how it's turned out. I'm really happy with the flavour of the beer and the way it's drinking. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so far it's been good. And as a result, we're talking at other things. But right now, we're going to have a look at this. Before I do, big shout out to Little John's Patreons. Thank you guys for all your support. Makes it easier for me to do the things I'd like to do. Do some experiment and playing around and trying different things. Stuff that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do, certainly not as often if it wasn't for that support of the Patreons. There's a link down the bottom if you're interested. It's well worth it. A couple of bucks a month. There's prizes, there's extra bonuses to go along with it. Like I said, main thing, keeps the channel going. If you subscribe to the channel, well, yeah, fantastic. If you're not, hit the subscribe button down there below. That way you don't miss anything, you get notified when stuff's going on. And you like the video, give me a thumbs up. But anyway, that's her. Yeah, I don't know exactly how great the lighting is. Yeah, it's sort of reasonably clear, and again, this is probably not quite the best indication of the beer. Mike had said this was actually the first keg off the fermenter, and it did bring he said it did bring a bit of hot crud over to start with, and that's been noticeable in the first glass or two. There was quite a bit of crud coming over. There's a couple of flakes in this glass, but it's pretty much looks like it's cleared off. But it is pouring a little bit clearer out there at the brewery, and it took a couple of weeks for me to actually get it into the keg fridge. This has only been in the fridge here for 9 days, so it's had a bit longer in the cold out there at the brewery. First thing you notice looking at it is that it's not particularly red. It's got a little bit of it's got a reddish tinge when you get, when you get in the sunlight, but it's nowhere near as red as we would have liked. We'll try to keep it on the friendly end of the scale, just due to concerns over whether how the style was going to be received out of the brewery. Locally, there's not a lot of big craft beer movement. There's not a lot of craft beer drinkers, so it was always going to be a bit of a wait and see how the locals were going to take the actual brewery and the different styles. So we Mike wanted to lean a little bit on the a bit more on the conservative side, for want of a better word. So my original way, when he first came in, we wanted to do the Red IPA. I went more on the avenue of what I would normally brew, a much deeper, heavy red with big heavy malts. He wanted to go the other way, so it took a little bit of work, and then he was trying to work within just using Voyager malts, so that was a little bit of a challenge as well. And you've seen the videos I did a while back with all the grain trials, the grain bill trials, and that was around trying to get the red colour from the grain options that were available to me with that sort of restriction, because I stepped outside of the Voyager to get my really generally to get my red, but we went with that. But that's where we come up at, and it's a nice beer. It's drinking really nice. It's good punchy bitterness, plenty of hop going on, some pine, there's some dank, some fruit on the back end. It's got all the things you want, as a beer. So we were both really happy. Like when I was out there talking with Mike when I was bloody sampling it, and same thing, he's like, it's a beautiful beer, just not red. And so that led to another discussion about what we're going to do, and the part of that discussion was based around where we were interpreting this beer as sitting. Now, when I went out with Matty Ursak, the hop wizard, and we both sort of said the same thing. Okay, she's not red, but I sort of was looking for a style, somewhere to put it, and I was sort of thinking like the lower end of a double IPA, and he sort of agreed. We weren't really sure that was really the right place. Chatting to Mike about it sort of later in the day, when we had a chance, actually, like later in the afternoon, sort of around closing time, when things were getting a little bit quieter in the brewery, we could have a chat. And he said he thought it was more leaning towards West Coast IPA, which was sort of more bang on the target. And so we're discussing where we're sitting style-wise, and from that he said to me, he said, well, what are we going to do? How are you going to make it, change it up to get it where you want it? And I said, well, where do we, basically was like, well, where do we want it? So what come to was that we just sort of decided, or Mike had decided, that given the amount of push and character it's got towards that West Coast IPA, I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do to get that and make it, really nail that West Coast? He said, because I don't think we're far off. And I said, well, clearly we aren't far off. It's very close on getting that. So, okay, that's certainly something to look at. And he said, then the other end is that, but how are we going to take that and get it red, and bring it into that direction? And I said, okay, well, we can look at that as well. So it's looking, fingers crossed, that this first dive into a brew out there at Bulla Creek is going to, you know, potentially, looks like it maybe will turn into 2 more. So that's a little exciting. What is also exciting is that he's got himself a canner. He had it was on the way. It was, you know, waiting. It was basically waiting for delivery on the Monday, I think. So he's talking about canning some of the brews. So that, whether that's West Coast, the Red, we don't know, but I'm pretty excited about the prospect that may happen. So I can get one of my beers into cans. That would be fucking fantastic. Like, it's amazing. I mean, just as a home brewer, to get to the point, you know, where, you know, it's one thing to get invited along to even brew with a brewer in a commercial setting. To be asked to actually create a brew and the recipe and develop it, and then come out and brew it, is another level. And not something, like I said, not many home brewers ever get a chance to do that. You know, you see competitions occasionally where people will get that sort of thing. You know, you win a home brew competition and the brewery will do, you know, one run of your beer. Again, there's not many of that around. You don't get that opportunity very often, and that's again amazing thing. And that happens on a bigger scale than what we're talking about here at Bulla Creek. It's a small brewery. They're just starting out, but still, beginning there. But then to take that another level where the brewer's going, okay, well, come and brew. Yeah, what are you going to do? And then, yeah, on the day looking at things, are we changing this? Are we making adjustments on the fly? And doing that, yeah, as you're looking at the brew and how it's progressing. But then to turn around after that brew's come out and that, yeah, and the brewery to say, okay, let's work with this beer a bit more. What are you going to do with it? That was, yeah, a pretty good thing to hear. So hopefully going forward, that's going to come up. So that in mind, I'm brewing today. You probably hear the splash in the background. I've finished brewing. I've just got the beer on basically on an air cool because the weather's that horrible outside. It was absolutely bucketing rain around the time I need to get the chiller on. So I just decided to run the air cooling process, which I've done a few times now, and it works all right. So this time of the year certainly wouldn't work later in the year when it's warm up, but this time of the year when it's cooler, it is certainly working. But that is 12 litre batch of my revised recipe, working towards the West Coast IPA. It's not the actual recipe. Video on that is going to drop. I don't know which one's going to come first, this video or the brew day video. It's hard to say. Probably this first and then that brew day. Because I referred back to this video in regards to the recipe, the thought behind the recipe on that. So I've worked up the two recipes where I'd like to take them, where I think it's going to really work. So basically, let's touch on this fella first, because this is the one that everyone wants to know about. The recipe for this fella, and it would be really handy if I just had it here to access. So there. Yeah, I've been keeping this one a little bit close to the chest, so I wasn't sure how we we're going to go with actually ditching me up. But in a nutshell, without great, the recipe as it was brewed, and Brewfather did tell me we're going to get a little bit darker and a bit more red than what we did. But anyway, 42% Voyager Atlas, 32 Voyager Schooner, 14% SM40, 10% Munich, about 1%, or a bit under 1% Gladfield Eclipse Wheat. So as I said, it was a grain bill I hadn't used. It was purely going off some brews that I'd done, those malt trials, and going, okay, is this going to work? Look, that was working with what Mike had their feedback from sending out my original recipe. So in the end, yeah, not red enough. If you want to just, it's a nice beer, and realistically, yeah, I sat and thought about it. It's 6.2% ABV. Starting gravity 1062. So fermented with BRY 97. Fairly neutral water chemistry, just a fairly even mix of chloride and sulfate. A good whack of Epsom salt to push it up out, and a good nudge on the lactic to get the pH down. And the pH is about making sure we got that nice, clean, snappy sort of finish, which it's worked really well. So like I said, with that grain, it doesn't come out real red. To me, it's pushing the upper end of just standard American pale ale. It's quite hoppy in that regards. Lower end of, like, yeah, it's just a standard sort of an IPA. But the snappy, that bitter bite does lean a little bit more in that West Coast direction. It's sort of fringing on quite a few different styles. Like I said, even the double IPA very much doesn't quite reach a double IPA as far as ABV goes, but for the feel it's sort of nudging up that way as well. So as I said, that's why we pulled it to that, you know, put that West Coast weight would be good. Hopped with Magnum for bittering, Columbus and Galaxy in a Whirlpool, and Galaxy, Chinook and Eclipse. In dry hop, reasonably decent sized dry hopping, 6 and a bit grams a litre on the dry hop. So again, not massive, but enough that you're getting some out of it. So this fella, I've pulled back the hop juice. That hop combo as the inspiration for it, because it's working well and it's got the characters that we're looking for. But I've pulled a whack of the dry hop out of this one, and pushed more into the boil and that Whirlpool hop to bring more bitterness, more direct bitterness into the IBU level. And swap the Galaxy in the Whirlpool for some Chinook, again to bring more punch, get a bit more of that danky, you know, piney, bitey note into the initial mouthful. Then with the red, I pulled the SM40 out of this for the West Coast, pushed the Munich itself a bit more, and that was really about it. Wasn't much other than that. I haven't got Gladfield wheat. I did use a roast barley, but that's going to be very minimal. It's a very small amount. So that's where it is. The Red IPA, we're obviously going to be pushing the red a lot more, and play around the hops a little, so just tone the hops back a little bit as well at the same time, to give the more chance to shine. So that beer is going to turn into 2 beers. They're going to be fairly similar in context and in their feel, but still going to deliver it in a different kind of a way. And that in its own has been really interesting. I've really enjoyed doing that, sitting down and working with those two, going, okay, and working around that. Especially from now having a little bit of experience on the system out there and how it works and how it all comes together. It's very different to working on, on the home brew level. Things happen quite differently at those big scales. So yeah, I've got an awful lot to learn. If anything's going to continue to brew out there, but Jesus, I'm fucking having a good time while I'm doing it. So, guys, that's I'm calling it Little John's Red IPA. I'll link the recipe down below so you can have a look at it. Because I said, as it is, it's actually not a bad drop. It's quite nice. So anyway, guys, thank you. As I said, links are all down the bottom. Comments and questions, stick down the bottom as well. But that's me. So till I see you again, we're brewing beer, drinking beer, talking beer. Good brewing.